Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A minister decided that a visual demonstration would add emphasis to his Sunday sermon. 4 worms were placed into 4 separate jars. The first worm was put in a container of alcohol. The second worm was put into a container of cigarette smoke. The third worm was put into a container of chocolate syrup. And the fourth worm was put into a container of good, clean soil. At the conclusion of the sermon, the minister reported the following results. The first worm in the alcohol, dead. The second worm in cigarette smoke, dead. The third worm in chocolate syrup, dead. Fourth worm in good, clean soil, alive and well. So the minister asked the congregation, what did you learn from this demonstration? Well, good Maxine was sitting in the back row, quickly raised her hand and said, as long as you drink smoke and eat chocolate, you won't have worms. Here comes Kate Smith, God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. That brought an end to the service. Oh, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today and call them at 734-6969. Well, good morning, Gina.
Well, good morning, Mr. Sunshine, and how are you on this fine Tuesday?
A lot better today. I feel good.
Well, that's wonderful, and the legs are doing okay? You're recovering from your weekend foray?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my legs are still a little sore, but, that's just par for the course. And may I say that I appreciate all your work in helping us with the remote yesterday, along with Jerry. And also our very special thank yous to Snyder Surplus. Wonderfully nice people over there yesterday.
And, I actually arrived just after you left, and George was nice enough to feed me a burger, and I perused the store, and definitely I'm going to be back there.
Nice people. Leland and Tammy, everybody that I met over there, very nice folks. Do we have a Pledge of Allegiance person?
We do. We have Rotten on for the pledge, and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very well done. Rotten, good morning. Our pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, my dear friend. We'll see you at Lunch Bunch on Thursday, okay?
I'm planning on being there.
All right, sir. God bless you. Hey, don't forget the weather is brought to you right now by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. I'm telling you, Kyle and Whitney Cheney have got a home run going with this business. All the hardwood, the laminates, the vinyl sheeting, the vinyl plank, carpet cabinets, they can do it all. Where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart. And they can meet or beat any price on flooring. They want to help you at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. You call them today, 678-6945. Here now is Michael Rogers weather.
We've got a couple of more days of this yucky weather, and you're looking for scattered showers today. Temperatures still in the 60s for the daytime high. Then tomorrow night you'll start to taper off, come out of it, and Wednesday night going into Thursday, you're going to be looking at some nice weather going up into the weekend. Be advised, if you're going to be traveling on Interstate 15 heading northbound right across the Idaho-Montana border, they've got rain and snow in their forecast for today and also for tomorrow, and it's summertime. I'm going to make it spring, but it's close to summertime. Go figure. They got a big, powerful storm. You're just going to get the rain out of it, and they get more of it. Other than that, be safe on the road. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy the day. It is the only weather you got.
There you go. MichaelRogersWeather.com, the world's greatest weatherman. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. And let me tell you, they take great pride in keeping up with the latest trends and designs. Where your home design needs are aisles apart, not miles apart. Free in-home consultation. They want to help you. Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley. Look for their blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Oh, good morning, everybody. Yes, I do want to say thank you very much to the Snyders. We were over there at Snyder Surplus for the remote yesterday, and I am humbled, and I mean this. I am humbled by the friends that really took the time and the effort, all the people that came over to support the remote, many of which are parts of our lunch bunch, and we really appreciate it. Snyders, very nice people, and we just had a good time over there yesterday, and we wish them very good success for their brand new building in the future and serving the Magic Valley. Thank you very much, Snyder Surplus. Calls are welcome, 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. Let's take a minute. I want to tell you about Darrell's Cleaners. Oh, I got to run in there in the next couple of days and drop off a great big bag of Rumply Crumplies. And if you've got a bag of Rumply Crumplies, you know, your clothes that are all wrinkled and need cleaning, you stop in there and they'll come back looking brand spanking new. Absolutely. So stop into the best cleaners anywhere, anytime. And I feel qualified to say that because I've gone to cleaners all over the United States and Canada. Darrell's Cleaners is the best. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget SafeLink Internet. Man, I'll tell you what, we just absolutely, and Deanna and I mean this, we're very, very thankful that we've had them as part of our business operation for about the last 6 or 7 years. SafeLink Internet has been serving Idaho for over 16 years and counting. The number to call for Idaho's number one choice, SafeLink Internet, is 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000, or go to their website. They'll tell you all about themselves and how they can help you, SafeLinkInternet.com. Remember the number, 677-8000, SafeLink Internet, serving you. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Folks, this is all happening way too conveniently. It's all co-joined at the hip, if you want my opinion. Yesterday, I sat down after the program, and I got home and I started listening and watching the news and taking notes as to what's going on. And maybe some of you will agree with me that this so-called energy and world crisis is coming together too conveniently right now for Obama and his wanting to raise electrical rates, raise energy prices, and have us cut back. It's way too convenient. There are talks right now that if the situation in Iraq goes to greater limits to take over Baghdad and fragment the country with the Muslim influence in there now and the extreme Muslim influence with some that are nothing more than trained killers, they're very afraid that oil will go to exceed $150 per barrel, and we could easily see $6 a gallon and more here at the pump. But let's stop right there. Let's analyze this. Isn't that what Obama wants? Obama and his former energy secretary, Stephen Chu, came out blatantly in the first go-round in 2008 and said they wanted to see gas prices go to $8 to $10 a gallon, comparable to what's going on over in Europe. Well, now he's also touting that we need to get off fossil fuels and we need to go with his green energy program of solar and, of course, wind. Now, this is way too convenient to me. This is way too convenient on the world scheme of things to see what's happening over in Iraq, to see oil headed to $150 a barrel, to see our energy absolutely costing us so much we can't afford to drive to the store, we can't afford to go see Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred. And I believe this is a plot, and I'm going to stand behind this. I believe this is a plot to put energy under his thumb for more control of us. And like I said, this could easily push energy to over $6 a gallon. Do I trust this man? Do I trust this administration? Absolutely not. There is no way in the world right now that I have any trust, any like, or any respect for what Obama is doing or how he's accomplished what he has done. You know, look at the situation with the scandals. Look at everything that he has pushed. Look at his cap and trade. Look at his energy programs. Look at what he wants to do to the economy. Look what he's done on immigration. It's all been under the table, and then at the last minute, oops, look, here you go. This is the rabbit I pulled out of the hat. What are your thoughts? Do you agree with me that this is way too convenient for Obama to get energy prices sky high and force and coerce more of our tax dollars to go into wind and solar? Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Or don't you care? I do. I'm basically on a fixed income. I'm basically on a fixed budget. And I've got to really toe the line with what is spent right now on energy prices and filling up my outfit. And I'm not going to trade it in and have to have a car payment plus pay for the cost of fuel. My outfits are paid for, and I'm going to keep buying fuel for them. But I'm not about to go and buy a new vehicle right now and have the car payment plus the exorbitant price of gasoline and or diesel. Valley White Home and Ranch. Don't forget, fair time is right around the corner, and they've got all your 4-H supplies, all your feed needs. And by the way, I want to mention to you that coming up this weekend, they've got that antique tractor show, and it's going to be right there at Valley White Home and Ranch. That's right, this weekend on the 20th and 21st, and customers will have a chance to vote for their favorite tractor, and the Minico FFA is going to be there selling burgers, and every dollar is going to go right back to support that Minico FFA. This is a big happening, and they've got all the Gallagher fencing, and they've got all the health supplies for your livestock. They got all your clothes. They've got everything right there for the farm, the family, and the home, right there at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see those great folks today. Caller, I'll be right there. I've got one more little advertisement, and we want to say thank you very much to Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. As a matter of fact, I just called over there this morning. Hey, by the way, we're going to be back to air conditioning weather this weekend. It's supposed to get up in the 90s. Make sure your air conditioner is working properly and that you have a new air filter that is clean and going to do the job for you. Dirty air conditioner, it just will only cause you trouble. So stop into Ramsey Heating and Electric today and check out all your electrical needs at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I just called to let you know that I saw the very same thing you did, probably about the same time. I don't know why, but yesterday I was thinking the very same thing you're just talking about.
So you agree with me that it's way too convenient the way this kind of a roadmap is being plotted out?
Well, yeah, and there's a few other things in his regime that I think is way too convenient, too. I think we're being led down the bad trail.
Let's kind of play this out a little bit. There's going to be people say, oh, well, he hasn't got control over that, or he doesn't have... No, wait a minute. He has, through being president of the United States, and with the subversive powers that are behind him. I don't trust the man, I don't like the man, I don't respect the man, nor do I respect his ideology. He has been touting that he wants us on green energy. He has been touting that he wants only mass transportation. He doesn't like Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred taking a little trip to Yellowstone. He wants everybody under the control of solar and green power, and I absolutely stand behind what I said.
Well, I agree with you. I don't know. I don't know that he can be the only one. There might be a whole bunch of them guys doing that.
No, I agree with you there. I think it's a very, very sinister plot for world domination and control more of the United States. Sir, thank you for your call. God bless your call. I thank you very much.
You're welcome. You have a good day.
Thank you, sir. You know, none of the big networks are even carrying these stories. CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, they're not even carrying the stories. And they're so much in bed with Obama. Really, they are. I'm going to call it like it is. They wouldn't ever insinuate that this is some kind of a plot or a ploy to do this. I will. Good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Seb. One of the biggest frustrating things about it to me is we're standing on more oil than any other nation.
Absolutely.
We got it under our feet. We have the means, we have the people who want to and the ability to do it, but the people up top will not let us drill, will not let us be independent, and won't let us succeed.
We're being held hostage, Riley, by the environmental movement in this country that has a great big chokehold on what the government does and or doesn't do. And I have no use for the environmental movement. I think they're nothing more than charlatans and frauds and phonies that want everything their way, and the devil be damned. They don't want any progress. They don't want families to succeed. They don't want anything except for us to live in little grass huts and basically burn buffalo dung. And I'll stand behind that statement.
I have a problem with these people that are getting all the handouts and come across the border into the U.S. and stay here for free, and we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And the people that are already here, don't they see? Don't they understand? Are they truly that ignorant that once the control is totally over with, they're done?
Absolutely.
Nothing else will be free for them. Everything will be taken away. They will starve. They will die. Do they not understand this? Or is it just ignorance? Or what is it?
It's all about control, my friend. Government control. The elitist versus the peons. And we have become the class of the peons. The taxpayers that support the elitist and their great big broad-ranging programs. Riley, thanks for your call, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
God bless you. Calls welcome. In just a minute, caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody, this Thursday we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant. I look forward more so now than ever before to going to Lunch Bunch, and now we're at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. I just can't wait to pick up the menu. I can't wait to order and try something new, man. I tell you, I love it. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's all there. Everything is delicious. The service is absolutely fantastic. Thomas and the rest of the folks over there at Denny's, what great hosts they are. So don't forget Denny's Restaurant anytime, all the time, for all your delicious eating. 611 Overland in Burley, and we are going to have Zeb's Lunch Bunch over there at Denny's this Thursday. You be there. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
If the president gets his way, gas goes to $8 to $10 a gallon, unemployment is going to go sky high because nobody can afford to go to work.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I just absolutely am scared to death what it's going to do to my business, and everybody should be very worried about it. But you know, Dal, it's your fault. And it's my fault. It's everybody's fault that's an American citizen, because we've let these very low human minds of government take over and control us, and we should be throwing them out.
They should have been thrown out years ago.
I agree. Well, there's many, and that's true, for the repetition in the offices that they've come back. We should be cleaning house back there. And quite frankly, I have no allegiance to any politician back in Washington, D.C. I think, like you, let's throw the whole bunch out, give them a warning. Hey, this is what's going to happen. You work for we the people, or out of Dodge City you go.
I agree.
All right, Dal, thanks. Appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you the Silver State Stampede. Oh, my goodness sakes, I look forward to that every year. That is one of my very favorites down in Elko, Nevada. Silver State Stampede at the Elko County Fairgrounds, and it's going to be July 10, 11, and 12. On Thursday night, the big kickoff party. Don't miss that. Western Trade Show, mutton busting, tri-tip dinner, and all the old West Bronc ride, and that's quite an event. And then on Friday and Saturday, they've got the great big PRCA rodeo on the 11th and 12th. Everything is exciting down at Elko at the Silver State Stampede. Don't you miss it. We'll be seeing you down in Elko on July 10, 11, and 12. All right, calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And going along with government and how gullible and naive and accepting of what they say they think we are is the IRS scandal. Now, come on, honestly. I know there are Democrats out in the audience that listen to this program and take down notes, and they just absolutely hate everything we have on this program. But how could anybody in their right mind, and I have to clarify that because those on the left I don't think are in their right mind, how could anybody in their right mind accept the fact that the computers all went down and ate Lois Lerner's emails? Oh, they're all gone. Especially the ones that the Congress hearing wanted to read. Amazing how that happened. Caller, real quick. I'll take your call, and then I've got a hard break. Go ahead.
I have a comment on that. The other night I was listening to some other talk show host, and a young woman who is a computer tech and really knows her business, she said they can find those emails. Absolutely. They are never all the way gone. And she said they were very picky about the ones they were deleting. How about that?
Yeah, isn't it amazing, Chris? That
they can find them.
Yep, just the ones that were pertaining to this great big scandal. Why, Chris, they just jumped right out of her computer and they're gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what amazes me is when you talk to people about what's going on in our country, so many of them are so interested in their own little private affairs that they do not even know what's going on in our country. And we're going to wake up one of these days and we're not going to have our freedom, and it's going fast.
I agree with you, and I always appreciate your call. Chris, thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You know, this deal, and here's the other part. Ladies and gentlemen, any major news stories that come out on Friday afternoons, late in the afternoon, especially on a weekend where there's a holiday, like last Friday, prior to Father's Day weekend. And they released it and said, oh, why, Lois Lerner's computer, why, we lost all those emails, why, it's a tragedy. No, it wasn't. It was all pre-planned as a scam against us, the American public, and the congressional hearing. If you buy into this idiocy, I pity you. I really do. It's unbelievably stupid how gullible the American public is becoming and accepting, oh, well, son of a gun, Congress wanted to read those emails, and they're gone. Why, the dog ate the hard drive. My foot. Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South, Heyburn, Idaho. You better believe it, 438-8730 with my dear friend Jim McCall. Saw him yesterday. He was over there at Snyder's. Nice guy, super guy. Don't forget they can clean your air filters. You bring your air filters in there, reuse them, clean them. That's what they can do. They've got all your oils. They've got everything, all your sprayer parts, all your bolts, everything. Travelube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Heyburn, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. Right now it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. The U.S. Supreme Court has let stand a ruling that requires farmers to repay the travel expenses of H-2A guest workers within a week of their arrival. The nation's highest court has refused to review a lawsuit that pitted guest workers against Perry and Sons Farms, a Nevada onion producer. The workers filed a lawsuit claiming they were not timely compensated for travel expenses. The Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals agreed with the workers that growers must repay travel expenses within a week of their arrival, rather than halfway through the employment contract. Advocates for agricultural employers worry the ruling will further discourage farmers from using the bureaucratically onerous H-2A program. This is Brandon Tenner.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Thank you very much, Capital Press, and all the folks that live up there and work in that area of Portland, writing that great ag newspaper. Appreciate that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really would like to run into somebody that had the backbone to stand up and say, well, I believe it. Oh, yeah, I honestly believe the government. Yes, sir, I believe that the computers just ate up her emails. They happen to be just the emails Congress wanted, but I believe it. Oh, my goodness sakes. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
How are you? And by the way, you are one of the folks I wanted to and did say thank you to this morning. Loyal supporters of our program, thank you for being at Snyder's yesterday.
No problem. We enjoyed it.
Thank you.
But, I see all this stuff going on, and I'm so damn disgusted with our representatives. They can put a stop to this right today. But we got people right here in Idaho, Labrador, and everybody fighting against one another for control of the damn House of Representatives. Mm-hmm. Guys, knock it off. Do your jobs, and let's pay attention to what's going on.
Al, you follow the news, perhaps more so than anyone I know. I mean, you're, and out of deep respect, I've said this many times, you are a news junkie. How can possibly the American people be gullible enough to believe that, oh, the computer ate the emails, just the ones that were needed for the congressional hearing?
Yeah, how convenient. Whoopee, whoopee. Well, why don't the Attorney General, which is going to be a fairy tale if he ever gets off his duff and does anything, he's supposed to go in and he'd take care of all this stuff. But you don't have an Attorney General that does his job. In fact, he's a felon himself.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue that statement. There are so many illegalities and under-the-table graftings and deals. I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you, Al. God bless.
Hey, and can I mention one thing, open message to Mr. Reed from Nevada?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Reed, I don't think the Washington Redskins is going to miss your rat face at all down at them stadiums, so just stay home.
You know, why? You got me going in a different area here this morning, but our Senate, and basically our Congress and our President, everybody else, don't we have a lot more pressing issues with all the world volatile events that are going on to spend time pursuing whether or not Daniel Snyder should change the name of the Washington Redskins?
Yes, everything that's been brought up to him to be put on the table to get voted on, he has tabled it where it's not been brought up. Therefore, he should be up on charges himself.
I mean, we are looking at the world falling apart. Syria, Iran, Iraq. We're looking at terrorism. We're looking at our economy going down the drain. We've got all these scandals, and our Congress is more concerned about whether the Redskins, that has been a name for that football team for many, many years, never offended anybody until a couple of people that wanted to make money off of it decided to file a lawsuit, and now our congressman, even our president, spending time demanding a name change. This is asinine.
I know it, and all our president can do is play golf.
I know. Thank you, Al. God bless.
Have a good one.
And what an inappropriate gesture that was. Now, come on. I know there's going to be Democrats out in the audience that are going, well, President Bush went and played golf. President Ford went and played golf. President Reagan went and did this with his horses. Not, and I dare somebody to prove me wrong, not at a time when the volatility of the world is just absolutely hanging in the balance. We could be on the cusp of Armageddon. And what does Obama do? Runs from the problem goes to California, he's seen on a golf course, and then at night goes to a fundraiser. Mr. President, and it pains me to say that to Obama, Mr. President, stay in the Oval Office, do business, do your duty, and make America better than what it is and has been so far under your leadership. It's got a whole way to go, a big way to go. Calls are welcome, 4-3, make the Democrats mad. That's all right. They need to have their blood pumping. Anyway, don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental. I went by there again yesterday. Holy smokes, right out in front of the Burley store at 159 West Highway 30, they've got a big dude. I mean, it's a big dude. One of those big Doosan loaders. Oh, I mean, it's got power written all over it. Oh, my. I mean, it just says, I got muscles, I can do the job. Absolutely. And you can check out Berry Equipment and Rental at 3 locations. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Old Nick. And they've got all the Coyote tractors, and they got all the Bobcat excavators. I mean, anything and everything to lease and or buy right there. Good folks, Berry Equipment and Rental. Again, in Twin Falls, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Berry Equipment and Rental. Whoa, looking good over there at Berry Equipment. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, by the way, if you're running out of things to worry about, now, little by little, inch by inch, step by step, the Food and Drug Administration, kind of like the EPA, they're trying to jump in the middle of us and show how much power they got. Thou shalt not eat this! Thou shalt not have this! We won't let you! Well, now, the Food and Drug Administration, pardon me. Well, they're an association all pooled together. The Food and Drug Administration is now starting to tell, there's the key word in the sentence, tell food companies how much, if any, salt they can use with their products. Now, I venture to say, and we're going to see this happen in the very, very near future. It will happen before Obama takes a leave of his office and goes bye-bye. That you're going to be going into restaurants, and they're not going to have salt shakers on the table. We're going to see more pressure being put on by the FDA and others of our mamby-pamby association of restaurants and our society in general saying, well, they can't eat this. Why, we're going to police their food. And I'm telling you, go to the store today. Go to the grocery store today and buy all the little Morton salt, little mini shakers. You know, they're like, I don't know, what, 1.5 inches, 2 inches big, tall. Buy those and pack them in your pants or your purses or your shirt pockets, whatever, when you go to eat, because you're going to need them. You're going to be eating before too long bland mush. Ugh. So you're going to need your little salt shaker. And then you'll probably get arrested for bringing salt into a no-salt zone. Go ahead and laugh at me. Go ahead and laugh at me and poke fun at me and say, I'd never get that way. Zeb, what's the matter with you? I'll bet you. These people with the influence of Big Mama Obama, it's going to happen. And now the FDA going to these companies and saying, no, you can't use that salt. No, I'm sorry, we're going to come after you. Pretty soon they're going to go after the restaurants, and they're going to go after the fast food places, and they're going to go after, you can't do that. Can't have salt shakers on the table. You better be prepared to take your own. I'll bet you on it. Okay? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear what you have to say, and don't forget your salt shaker. Four Paws Bed and Bath, 370 West, 200 South of Rupert. You know, they've got a nice service for us senior citizens. Yep, I can say that because I'm a gray-haired senior myself. And they've got a free pickup and delivery for senior citizens for their dogs to be groomed roomed and boarded or daycare, all you have to do is just give them a call at 438-4444. Yep, that's a nice deal. And they do the same service for everybody at a minimal cost of $15 round trip or $10 one way. Hey, this is great. Four Paws Bed and Bath. Really nice people. Kathy and the rest of the crew. 370 West 200 South of Rupert. Number to call, 438-4444. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, why would I laugh at you on that deal with the salt shakers? It's already started some places from what I understand.
Yeah, and it's going to get worse, and so I'm packing my own little Morton salt shaker right in my pocket.
Exactly, and you know, I understand that they want to pass a tax against table salt in the stores to make it outlandishly expensive.
Yeah. Anything that's available to the government to tax where they can make money, I don't care what it is, they will do it. And I'm telling you, it's going to become illegal. You're going to see signs on doors. My honest opinion, if you bring salt into this establishment, you will serve 6 months in jail or pay $5,000 fine.
I wouldn't doubt it. But let's not give them too many ideas.
Okay, Rod. Hey, thanks for your call. Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Catch you later.
All right. I just honestly don't trust the government anymore. I think anything they can tax, anything they can make illegal, they will. Just purely for control. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, you brought up something this morning that refreshes my memory real well. And that's when you talked about the price of diesel, and the fact that you're not going to trade because you can't afford the payment and pay for the fuel too.
You know, Keith.
So what happens to the dealer? He has to go without buying new furniture for his wife.
Yep.
It goes on and on and on.
I agree. And Keith, I did not want to sound, and I'll say this and be very heartfelt about this, and my apology to anybody in the auto business. I think you understand what I said because I've got to watch my P's and Q's and my dollars. On the other hand, you have people in the retail business of selling vehicles. It's a vicious cycle of catch-22, but Keith, it's imposed because of the stupidity of the government.
That's right. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. Go to the grocery store and buy a head of lettuce.
Yep.
I mean, fuel, everything that's brought to our grocery stores, at least in our area, is bought by truck. And most trucks use diesel, and when diesel goes up, they have to have a surcharge or whatever. That increases the price of the product.
That's right.
And it goes on and on and on.
Well, Keith, there was a commentator a couple of days ago on MSNBC, which I think the commentators on MSNBC are not the brightest bulbs in the fixture. As a matter of fact, I don't think any of them have ever graduated from grade school. And this commentator was talking about higher oil prices and everything, and then at the end of her story, she said, and I believe that possibly higher fuel prices will fuel inflation. And I thought, you dolt. You waited until the end of the story to state the obvious that you believe that higher fuel prices will cause higher inflation. I mean, that's obvious from the get-go that we're going to see everything go sky high.
You know, every time we fill up at the pump, we feel like telling that clerk, these prices are ridiculous. You should be sent to jail for charging this much and everything. But I know for a fact that the major oil companies in our area, at least, this is not their fault. It's the refineries that set the price, not them.
And it's the refineries, it's government bureaucracy, it's government regulations, it's nothing more than control. There's so many things that are at play here. But for the stupidity of government, the stupidity of the news media, to sit there and say, well, holy cow, if gas goes up, it might cause an increase in inflation. Might? My goodness, how did these people graduate from kindergarten, for heaven's sakes.
You know, and that's how they set the inflation rate, is they leave out the cost of fuel and groceries.
Yes.
The two most important things in your life that everybody is involved in.
Absolutely. Keith, I got to do a weather forecast. It's good to hear from you again, my friend. Take care. God bless. Have a good day. You know, the problem we have right now, and he's right. He's right. We've got a retroactive kind of a chicken or egg theory on the danger zone of not buying, not being able to buy, and then the retailer can't support himself and his family, and everybody suffers. But you know something? It's the stupidity of the government. And when I heard that MSNBC reporter at the end of that story, look at the camera. I mean, they should have wrote in big letters across her forehead, "Stupid," say that why the higher oil prices might cause inflation. I felt like calling up and see if there's any way I could get a hold of her and have her committed to a home. Of course higher oil prices are going to cause inflation. It's going to run rampant. Everything is going to go up exorbitantly so that people can stay in business. You're going to see inflation go up whether you're buying a pair of Wranglers or an ice cream cone, for heaven's sakes. Here's the weather with MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Another yucky day in the Magic Valley as far as the weather is concerned. Slight chance of showers are still going to continue it through much of Wednesday. Also, taper off on Wednesday night going into Thursday, and then you're looking for a pretty good week. Cooler temperatures. All of this is a result of a cold front that's pushing through. Now, if that really bothers you, be advised that there's some folks who are going to do some far worse weather than what you are. By the way, if you're heading up Interstate 15 up toward Montana, they're looking for rain and snow for much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you got it pretty good. Other than that, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Michael Rogers Weather. By the way, I got another little itch that needs to be scratched. Would you tell me why? Somebody please call me and tell me why. Why is the media in general basically giving a pass of admission to Hillary being the next president? I'm not kidding you. I don't care what you turn on, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, whatever. Well, our possible next president, Hillary Clinton. And Hillary when she becomes president. And Hillary this. Why? Why? How come so many in the media have hitched their three-legged horse to a wagon that says Hillary is going to win the next presidency? How come? I certainly hope and pray that she doesn't even make the nomination from her party. I hope that she is turned out to pasture. I hope that she is long gone from politics. I don't like her. I don't like her politics. I don't like her ideology. I don't like anything about Hillary Clinton. And I don't trust her. There are many, many, many women in politics on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat, that are far more deserving and I think far smarter, oh boy, heavy on the far smarter, than Hillary Clinton. I don't think that she has the ability or the aptitude, and I certainly wouldn't respect her in the office of the presidency. Now, I know a lot of you people out there, especially some of the liberal gals, oh, we gotta have Hillary. Why? What has she ever done? I mean, if you were to stack her up in accolades and achievements, next to, oh, let's just pick another lady here, Condoleezza Rice. How about that? Pick Condoleezza Rice. Holy cow, there's not a comparison. Here's little Hillary down here on the footstool, and way up on the third floor on the ladder is Condoleezza Rice compared to Hillary. And this woman is going to be our possible next president, according to the media. Why? What has she done? I want somebody to answer that. Why in the world should they, the Democrats, be just bowing in allegiance at the throne of Hillary Clinton? It's scary. We can't afford, and I'm serious about this, we get rid of Obama, man, we better run away from that mess and not stick Hillary Clinton in there for 4 years after that. Holy buckets, we better line up like lemmings at a wall and jump off. Unbelievable. Give me a call on that, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, even the Democrats are embarrassed by Obama going to California and playing golf and speaking at a fundraiser in the midst of this Iraqi crisis. This is absolutely a mess. This is total chaos. We have very poor or no leadership, and Obama cannot stand confrontation. There's been many others that have said that. Many others that have said that. The man can't stand confrontation. He's just going to delegate it to somebody else to watch over it and then walk away and then say, in the case of Iraq, well, we're studying it and we're going to make a decision on what to do in the next couple of days. This man never was qualified to be president. And when you hear the likes of longtime political pundit, if you will, Brit Hume, that has studied many presidents and their actions in the White House or their inactions, say that this man is totally inept and not qualified, that ought to wake you up a little bit. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. While I'm waiting for your call, that means a lot to me. Give me a jingle right now. I want to remind you about all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wow, all the tires. I mean, they've got their top-notch tires right there waiting for you. All the tread designs for all the different driving that you're going to be doing, and they offer the free lifetime tire and mileage care and the free peace of mind tire protection. They really take care of you. And they've got easy credit plans. 4 different plans are available for you, and they've got the best in brake service, my goodness, the best in front end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries and the custom wheels. What are you waiting for? Get in there today and see either Lane in Rupert or Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and old Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was saddened because of a baseball player passing away yesterday that I thought was one of the greatest hitters and possibly was the greatest hitter that ever played the game, and that was Tony Gwynn. He could handle a baseball bat and hit them where they weren't almost any time he wanted to. And I loved watching Tony Gwynn get up to the plate, and he had a left-handed swing that was absolutely fantastic, and he could hit that ball whether it was coming at him at 98 miles an hour or whether it was a curved ball, whether it was a knuckleball, whether it was a changeup. He could hit that ball wherever he wanted to hit it. And he ended up with 3,141 hits, 18th on the all-time list, and had a career average, and this is really something, of 338. And he won 8 batting titles while he was a 15-time All-Star. And he died from cancer. It's very sad. And I just absolutely think that was one of the greats. He died at 54. He had done quite a bit of broadcasting with ESPN, and I just absolutely miss his smile and his laughter. There was a professional baseball player that had a great personality, and his smile and his laugh was infectious, and hated to see him pass away at such a young age of 54. They called him Mr. San Diego Padre, Tony Gwynn, dead at 54. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. You know, we had our remote yesterday over at Snyder Surplus, and I learned so much from Leland. And they've got everything. And I know Gina probably heard, I was saying, what's the most unique thing that you've got over there? And he was telling us a tow bar for a bomber. Gina, do you need a tow bar for a bomber that you might be repairing in your shed with James?
You know, you never know someday, but at this moment in time, no.
You know, really, there's nothing that they haven't got over there. I said, Leland, what's the most weird thing you got? Well, I got a tow bar for a bomber airplane. I thought, wow, what are you doing with that? I love that.
If we ever have a bomber airplane, we might need it, and we know exactly where to go to get it.
Yeah, go out and tell Thaxton to make a driveway long enough for a B-52 to land, would you please?
You betcha I can do that, and he probably would.
No, engineering-wise, he'd have it right down to the right degree and say, well, we have to have it counterbalanced here to make sure that when it lands, that the plane has a downward movement with the front end. I mean, he'd have it all figured out.
Oh, he would. He would have it all figured out.
Hey, it got cold yesterday.
It did get a little bit chilly yesterday.
No, it got cold yesterday.
Actually, so cold I had to turn on my heater last night.
We did, too. We had to turn on our pellet stove last night. I'm telling you, when I see this thing get down to 47 degrees, I looked at Goober, and we had some company yesterday. By the way, the second world's largest Vandal fan was in my house yesterday.
Larry?
Yep, Larry came over. Larry Hooted come over and brought us some cherries, and then he spent the first 15 minutes of our visit bragging about how good the Vandals were going to be. And I said, oh, my gosh, did Gina put you up to this?
Well, we Vandals have to stick together, you know.
But we were sitting in the house, and it was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and all of a sudden I looked at us. You know, Larry's sitting in one chair with his cap pulled down and his sweatshirt zipped up, and Deanne sitting on the couch, and me. We were freezing in the house yesterday.
And so that's when you decided to turn on the pellet stove.
Turn on the pellet stove. Let the good times roll.
Oh, it's going to be another kind of chilly one today as well.
Yeah, I know. And I ran out of pellets last night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a break for about 6 minutes and listen to the ABC News, and they're going to mess everything up. We're going to be back at 9:06. Guess what? We're going to go find out about soccer. A sport that I don't care for. We're going to have a live and direct call to Brazil at the Soccer Cup World Finals, so stay tuned for that. I'll be back. Oh, my. Welcome back. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday. 2 on a Tuesday. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, along with our major corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia shore. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia shore. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. That's the truth. Western Waste Services. Get on their route program. Get your garbage picked up. It's gone. It's out of there. We've been with their program for a long, long time. Very trustworthy. They're always there to get rid of our garbage, and they're always at our disposal. That's right. Call them today at 734-6969. Don't forget the porta potties and everything else, and the Go Mini storage units. They've got it all for you. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. By the way, also, don't forget, every Thursday we have a segment on our program, thanks to Vicky's Country Garden. It's called Gardening for Idiots, and quite frankly, it's named after me. I'm not much of a gardener, but I am listening and learning. Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number 438-5663, every Thursday at 9:12. And don't forget, for all your gardening needs, it's Vicky's Country Gardens. Thank you very much. Last but not least, let's not forget our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636, with the owner-manager, Joel Heward. And they absolutely will serve you and your family. You know, when the passing of a loved one occurs, it's just such a traumatic time trying to get all the information and literally dot all the I's and cross the T's. They can help you with all the arrangements, and you don't have to come to them. They can come over to you. Please give them a call, 436-5636, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, 436-5636. Ladies and gentlemen, right now we're going to go on the phone line. And I understand that Gina says, how come?
The phone number's not good.
The phone number's not good?
No,
Oh, I gave you the wrong one?
I don't know, but it keeps on saying, we're sorry. Please try your call again later.
Oh!
It's disconnected.
Well, now, that's not a good thing to have happen, because what we were going to do, and let's just kind of go over this number again. I'll do it right on the air. Make sure I gave it to you correctly, because sometimes my old eyes aren't as good as yours. 011-551-199-488-4258. How's that sound? And she's trying it.
Slightly different than the...
Maybe I forgot to give you an extra little digit there. I'll check.
Possibly so.
I don't think I did, but we'll check it out.
It takes a minute for it to connect.
I can bet it does. We're calling down to Brazil, as a matter of fact. And Sao Paulo, Brazil, for a gentleman by the name of Anthony Ling. And he is the co-founder of...
Nope, your call did not go.
That's the number I have. It's correct then, and you're correct, Gina. We're all correct, except it's not making the connection. So,
yeah, it's not.
Deanne, if you would please call Casey and find out what happened to our guest, we'd appreciate it. So that puts me in kind of a little bind here, to where I would certainly appreciate it if we could get some calls coming in, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I can say this, though, Gina, if you're still there. Are you?
Yep, I'm still here.
I got into a lot of hot water a couple of years ago, and because of my stance against soccer, I'm not a big soccer lover. I don't like the game. I think it's like watching paint dry. What are your thoughts about soccer?
I've never gotten into the game. I know it's a very active game. It's a very busy sport, but it's just never something I've actively sought out to watch.
You are like me, I would surmise, that if it's football, we know basketball, we know baseball, we know wrestling, and those kinds of sports. Maybe a little bit of it, I don't understand the game. But then on the other side of that coin, I don't want to understand the game. I have no interest in soccer. That is not to berate anybody that's a soccer fan. It's not to berate any family that's devoted to soccer. I just personally don't find any interest in it, and I don't enjoy it. But the reason we were calling this gentleman, Anthony Ling, was to try and find out exactly, was it good or bad for Brazil to host the World Cup? And quite frankly, there are literally thousands of people that are saying in Brazil, no, it's not a good thing, because it's causing all kinds of turmoil down there, and it's taking away a lot of their private property rights. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I am fantastic, so thank you, Gary. Good to hear from you. What's going on?
Well, I heard you were in a little trouble and needed some help, and you needed somebody to call in, so here I is.
Well, Gary Shorsman, a dear friend that I have not heard from for quite some time, and Gary, just throw a subject at me and we'll talk about it. Go ahead.
Well, why you haven't heard from me is because I've been 24/7, literally, doing a history book on Rupert. It's number 6 of the one I did for the centennial for each one of our towns here in Minidoka County. And so this book actually had babies. It's 460 pages. Didn't know where to stop and hard to quit, but it's done. It's on the verge of just being printed, and it'll be out on by the 4th of July.
Oh, my.
So that's what I've been doing, and I can breathe a sigh of relief and get on the phone.
Let's talk a little bit about the book. Now, Gary, how long did it take you to write this book?
Well, it's really a compilation with little writings of this and that taken from gleanings that you get here and there, and follow the chronological history of our 118 books of the Minidoka County News that we have since 1905.
Right.
Looking for pictures and going to private individuals and homes and businesses and collecting kind of how it was from the beginning on through, and then really sort of ending in the 60s as it's really I guess maybe a little essay in photos and of how we used to look. The title is The Way We Were. So it'll be very nostalgic for lots and lots of people who grew up here, but it will also be very informative to all the people that have moved here and had no idea how this town began and how it looked and how it changed and what happened to the buildings and the many different businesses we had that are no longer here.
This is really interesting. Gary Shoresman, of course, an avid historian and loves history. And you mentioned that it's going to be out in time, I believe you said, for the Rupert 4th of July celebration?
Yeah. Actually, about in another week we should have some. We're hoping to have some maybe for the Christmas in July breakfast on Tuesday, sometime maybe a week from now.
Okay.
But we're just doing final editing, and then start printing.
Gary,
it'll be on sale at the bookstore.
All right. I have been in the process of trying to finalize the book I've been writing for the last 2 years, and sitting down and writing a book, and you've talked to me about this at my home. I remember a conversation. It's not the easiest thing to sit down and dedicate yourself to picking up that legal pad or putting your fingers on the computer keys and getting it done. So I compliment you for your diligence.
Well, I've had a great many battles to get up and go and sit before that computer, because if you're not psychologically there and you don't have it in your head, the words don't flow, and you hope for some motivation. But then once you do get sat down and it starts to flow, you better write it down because it won't come again. Not that same way.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Myself to sit down and start writing, and then once you kind of get into it, then you do a sketch, and then you can, if you put all those ideas down, then you can put them together later on. But if you try to think of them later on and they're not written down, that's where the tough part is.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this, Gary. What about the Rupert 4th of July celebration? I mean, when did it start, and who started it, and how big was it back in the days of old? Give us a little thumbnail sketch real quick about the Rupert 4th of July celebration.
Well, actually, 1907 was the first official 4th of July celebration in Rupert, with a little parade and this and that. But there was actually a celebration in 1905, and that's just as the railroad was brought through, and a young lady who ended up living her life out here arrived here when she was about 14. Wrote a very good narrative in the history of what it was like when she got here, driving on the wagon from American Falls through Wapai out to Minidoka on the north side of the Snake River, and breaking down and fixing up, and then waiting with just she and her mother and 2 brothers. They got to Minidoka, then they followed on down and came down here to Rupert to the homestead, which is just an old shack. But she tells about the first dance and tells about the first things that she saw and where who the people were. But she does mention on July of 1904, the people that were here went down to the river and had a celebration on the 4th of July.
Wow.
Before anything was here in the sagebrush.
Well, what did they have? I mean, they didn't have the availability of going up and getting a bag of ice and throwing some cold Pepsis in a cooler and going to have ice cream and everything. What did they have? What did they do?
Well, it was pretty sparse, but, they had canned goods. Most all their supplies came out of the town of Minidoka, and until some of the mercantile stores got started later on that summer.
All right, hold on just a second, Gary. Gina's on the line. Go ahead, Gina.
Well, we do have Anthony on the line. He actually called in. He was listening online, so he called us. So we do have him on the line. However, his cell phone, I think he's calling on a cell phone, so it's a little bit hard to hear him, but we do have him on the line.
I tell you what, if Gary Shorsman saved my life, and Gary, do me a favor. I'm going to call you after the program, or you call me. I want to reschedule. I want to talk more about this in the book called The Way We Were. Gary Shorsman, God bless you. I've got my guest scheduled on the air, and I'll come back to you, and I'll talk to you in the next day or so.
You can just call me a filler.
Oh, you did a great job as always. God bless you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, with us on the telephone right now is a young man by the name of Anthony Ling. He's Sao Paulo, Brazil-based architect and co-founder of the Students for Liberty in Brazil. Good morning, Anthony. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome, and thank you. I guess we've got a short time, and we've got to get right into it. Tell me a little bit, if you would, Anthony, is the World Cup in Brazil, is it all it's cracked up to be, or are there many problems that it's causing for people that live in the area?
Yeah, definitely there are many problems. I think the worst problems, the people that are affected the most, are low-income people who live in informal communities that are being basically displaced to make way for the new infrastructure and stadiums built for the World Cup. Well, and most of these works are over budget, and a lot over budget, in the scale of hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I mean, we definitely have a lot of problems going around, and most people here are not supporting it. They are a bit enthusiastic about the games, of course, but most people are very aware of these problems and are not supporting the government projects related to the World Cup.
Anthony, let me ask you this question. I understand that there are possibly 250,000 people that are going to be evicted from their homes because of the public works projects connected to the soccer games, and also that by the building of this infrastructure, this huge stadium, I understand that it may never be used again. So isn't this really a sham? Isn't this really kind of a farce to do all this to hurt the people and never use that facility again?
Yeah, it is. It's basically for show, right? The government really enjoys disclosing the amount of money they're investing, but they don't give any attention to the actual results, and they try to Hello?
Yes, I'm listening. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so they basically try to hide all the really bad problems these people are facing. So this number of 250,000 people, of course, it's an estimate because no one really knows how many people will actually be displaced. Most of these people live in what we call favelas. They're informal communities. Most of them, around 90% of them, are in public land. So the government basically has a monopoly of land over these people, and they don't really get anything in return, such as eminent domain, where if it was private land, they would get at least a financial restitution for their displacement. But as it's public land, these people basically don't have any real property rights over their homes.
Well, now, Anthony, once you look at 250,000 people that are displaced from their homes and evicted from their homes, this has got to create so much bitterness and hatred and strife against the government. What's the social unrest like in Brazil right now? Are people ready to do battle with the government because they've lost their home?
Well, yes, there are a lot of protests going on. I mean, from all political spectrums, there's some unrest towards the World Cup and the projects they've undertook. Usually from the political left, people are very aware of the displacements that are going on and are trying to help these people to relocate to somewhere else. From the political right, there's usually a lot of noticing of the bad economic situation, the large spending for these public works. So no fiscal responsibility at all.
Mm-hmm.
But one problem we have in Brazil is that there's a lot of people who work for the government or either depend on the government for a living. That's a very large percentage of the Brazilian population. So, of course, there's always going to be this large fraction of the population who is pro-government basically because he's getting something in return directly.
Let me ask you this, Anthony, and we've only got a short time left. This is very interesting. Do you see a correlation between Brazil and the United States of where both countries are tending to lean towards an elitist society, and those that are in the way, basically they just step on them as if they're not important? Is that happening, in your opinion, in Brazil and also here in the United States?
Well, I think it definitely happens in Brazil. Usually the less fortunate, the low-income people have very low political abilities. They don't have any political influence. I mean, they also don't have the ability to raise funds to finance campaigns, which also dominates a lot of our political agendas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how things go in the United States. I'm pretty sure it's less extreme of what we have here. I mean, if you think of it in a global scale, the U.S. is still sort of a reference for underdeveloped countries and developing countries.
Yes.
But from what I'm reading, as things are developing in the United States, you're also getting a lot of top-down regulations and protectionist policies that resonate with the elitism you're describing.
Absolutely. One final thought here this morning, Anthony. What about these people? 250,000 people without a home, without any future. Is the government in Brazil doing anything to help them, or who is coming in and trying to assist these people?
Well, a lot of times they relocate to other favelas. They look for their friends, for their families. Sometimes they share homes with other families. One has to imagine that they're very, very poor home environments. Another policy the government has been subsidizing is public housing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also a very large criticism from many political spectrums, as they're basically subsidizing the builders and not the buyers. So the builders get a lot of subsidies to build these very low quality public housing very far from public centers, with no mobility, with no transportation, very bad infrastructure. And the buyers, who are usually these very poor citizens, they have to get loans, right, from public banks in order to buy these very low quality houses.
I think you would.
After buying them, they don't even have the right to sell these houses. They're stuck with them for a few years until they're allowed to sell them, because theoretically they're getting a benefit from the government.
Yes. And
so, I mean, the whole system is very. We have a very distorted housing market. The rich urban centers, which you also gets into this elitist strategy you were talking about. They also restrict a lot of new development in formal housing markets in good neighborhoods. So basically, the poor are excluded from these rich neighborhoods and are kind of restricted to our suburbs. I mean, suburbs in Brazil are usually called periferias, and different from the United States. They're usually very low income in our suburbs, and the downtowns are usually where the wealthy live.
Okay. Anthony, I've only got just a moment left here, and I want you to give me a short answer on this. I really appreciate your calling in. But you would say, and probably agree with me, that all the glitz and the glitter and the glamour of having the World Cup soccer games in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is not everything positive for the country and also the people, is it?
No, I mean, no, definitely not. And I'd say the final result, we have very little positive outcomes with this World Cup.
All right. Anthony, I'm going to be in touch with you. I'm going to have you back for another segment. I want to say God bless you. Thank you for your diligence this morning and trying to get a hold of us. Thank you so much for your time. And I'll call you in the next couple of days, okay?
Thanks, Ed, and thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Anthony Ling from down in Brazil talking about all that happened to create the World Cup Soccer Cup finals in Brazil. And what happened? They built an amazing, expensive infrastructure and had to displace 250,000 people were evicted from their homes because of these new public works projects. You don't hear about this. You don't read about this. And all the money that's been lost, all the absolute waste of money, because this building and this stadium, they probably will never use it again. I appreciate Anthony Ling from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Thank you very much, and we're going to get him back, and we'll have an update on that. Don't forget the Rupert 4th of July celebration, where they have the theme, Let Freedom Ring. Rupert's 4th of July celebration, July 1st through the 5th. Oh, my goodness, all kinds of food. You can't have a Rupert 4th of July celebration without food, and they've got some of the best. They've got all kinds of great entertainment. They've got activities going on at the Wilson Theater. They've got the Firecracker 500 lawnmower races at the fairgrounds on July 3rd. They've got a family rodeo at the fairgrounds on July 4th, the 4th of July. My goodness, don't miss a minute of it. It is going to be wild. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Rupert's 4th of July celebration, Let Freedom Ring. It's going to be a dandy event. Oh, my, I'm going to have my next guest on the phone with us in just a moment. Let's not also forget our friends at Let's Ride, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, my goodness sakes, open Monday through Saturday. Their summer hours, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And believe me, they've got all the ATVs. If you haven't been over there, to open the door and just step inside and look at the ATVs from wall to wall, from the back to the front, all the accessories, everything. They've got the Can-Am side-by-sides, rebates and great financing. They got dirt bikes. They've got it all for you. And then also, don't forget, they've got the best doggone service department anywhere, anytime. All of this at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. You stop over and see those good folks today. Let's go to the phone line right now with the Institute for Energy Research, a very, very dear friend of mine that's been on this program many, many times. And we say hello to Mr. Dan Kish. Hello, Dan. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Well, I'm okay, and hope you are as well.
I'm doing fine, Dan, except that I'm very concerned. Now, I'm going to say this to you, and I want you to feel free to laugh at me and scoff at me if you wish. But you know something? I'm looking at this Iraqi situation, Dan. I'm looking at the threats that we're hearing about what it's going to cost us at the pump, with gas going possibly to oil going to $150 a barrel possibly in this Iraqi crisis. And then all of a sudden a little light went on in my head, and I said, it seems too orchestrated. Obama wanted to have extremely high oil prices. Obama wanted to force and coerce us into a green energy program. And all of this seems to be following a yellow brick road to get what he wants, to just put us under more control and see gas and oil go to maybe $6 to $7 a gallon. I'm not buying into this. I think it's a plot. Now you can tell me I'm all wrong.
Well, I could, except I don't know that you're all wrong, Zeb. If you take a look at things and follow the logical conclusion and the statements that he's made in his, and it wasn't $6 or $7, it was $8 or $9, as I recall, when Stephen Chu, his energy secretary, said we need to get our prices to European side. And I don't know if it's, but the truth is I don't know whether that's, I know that's what they said their plan was, and on a lot of other things, they said their plan, for example, was to make electricity prices skyrocket, and he's working on that. He was working on that last week with his EPA thing, and I don't know what's going on. All I know is I don't like it, and it sure seems curious to me that a lot of the stuff that's happening back here in Washington doesn't seem to add up. And whether it's, computers that lose a couple of years of records, or, disruptions in energy supplies, or can't make a decision on Keystone against the backdrop of this, or you name it, it's all I can say is some kids like to break windows.
Dan, you study this every day. You know so much more about it than I will, even by what I read. But when you look at fracking, or you look at what's going on in the Dakotas with the oil production, look at our energy structure. I mean, we're standing on top of a veritable gold mine of energy, and the accessibility to it is amazing. But why are we wasting our time clouding the landscape with these idiotic wind turbines and the solar panels? Why can't this president understand that right now, looking at the pumps in our economy, $7 to $8 to $9 a gallon would cripple us, send us over the edge economically? We can do this if we start right now.
Well, we can barely afford what we're paying for it now.
Yep.
Zeb, I'd say it's putting, there's plenty of folks whose budgets have sort of gotten used to it, but other things have given way, and now we have these additional assaults on it. We got him, basically, his policies are headed towards a situation where we've essentially banned the use of coal in the United States, which the environmentalists have, the green left, I'm going to call them, because that's what they are, have basically misled people into believing is a dirty fuel, when in reality we've cleaned it up 90% over the last 30 years or so, and we have the largest supplies of that in the world. So that would, if you were just starting out looking at things, you'd say, well, what do we got, in order to keep the lights on and keep things going? Well, we got this stuff that's good for nothing but burning to make electricity, and we figured out ways to clean it up. Well, we come along and whack that thing off. Then we come along and we are told by the government and other folks who want us to change everything about America that makes it so that we can live in places far from the city and still get our goods to market and travel to see folks. And they've told us that we're running out of oil and we're running out of gas, and then we come up with some, through the grace of God and American know-how and technology and all the rest, we develop new means to get it out of the ground, and we discover that we've got more than we ever thought we could have imagined, and they commence to figure out what's wrong with that. And it's just like they've, They want renewable energy, but they don't like dams. They want carbon-free energy, but they don't like nuclear power. You name it. You know, it's if it's anything that makes us stronger, makes our lives easier, and makes it so that we can spend a little more time with our families and have any enjoyment whatsoever, they seem to be against it.
Dan, you study the fracking issue, and we've talked about this in the past, but I was noticing in a press release that was put out, the New York Times' Thomas Friedman, and boy, him and I could really get into a backyard brawl over his thoughts on energy. The Times' Thomas Friedman warns that we must not replace our addiction to coal with an addiction to natural gas, and the question was, why not? If they're going to replace coal on the energy grid, we've got to replace it with something else reliable, or there won't be an energy grid. What's the matter with using natural gas?
Because we've got a lot of it, and because if we did it properly, we could use it, and it would keep the cost of electricity down, and that's not part of the equation. I mean, people like Tom Friedman believe that the president is morally superior to the rest of us because he says that electricity prices should necessarily skyrocket. I mean, listen, this is a guy who lives just outside of Washington here in some of the wealthiest areas in the United States and has a mansion sitting on acres of property in an area where if a person has a home that takes up a quarter of an acre, he's considered to be a land baron. I mean, this is really looking down his snout at everyone else and living in a dream world and professing to tell other people that they should live with less when he lives with more. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for folks like Tom Friedman, who seems to be wrong about everything that he writes about, in all honesty, which is probably why he's a featured writer in the New York Times.
Dan, when you talk to your circle of friends back on the East Coast or anywhere around the country, are you seeing any changes? Are you seeing any kind of a devout gathering of we've got to change this, we've got to have better energy programs, we've got to have better energy policies, or are we as an American public just sitting back like a sponge and accepting everything that this administration's pushing to us?
Well, Zeb, I think, people, it's been a long time since folks, picked up pitchforks and said we've had enough of people telling us what to do and how to live and all the rest of it. But in essence, this is part of the American experience. I mean, we worry about our churches, our friends, our neighbors, our family, and we all work hard to keep roofs over our heads and make sure that there's shoes for the kids. And then all of a sudden the government keeps making it worse and worse and worse and worse and telling you that that isn't even acceptable behavior in many cases, that the very things that allow us to do that are somehow they're going to make harder and harder and harder for us to do. And I do think people finally get to a point. And I think you see it to some degree in the president's numbers, which I'd guess were probably inflated, given the fact that the pollsters tend to support him anyway. They're in New York and Washington and the like. And there's a growing awareness that something's wrong when the government's got a plan for us for everything we do, and has a lot of things they tell us that we can't do and that we have to accept, and that they're right and we're wrong. And I do get a sense that Americans are getting a belly full of it, because certainly among people that I know, even back here in Washington, some lines have been crossed that they've never seen crossed before.
What are we to do, though? We're looking at a man, Obama, and his ideology, that even as many scandals, I mean, every day is something new against this administration and their amateuristic approach to what they do to try to solve things. I am absolutely amazed as to how gullible, like lemmings, the public follows Obama. They still believe in him. They still want to go along with these energy programs. I'm surprised that, like you said earlier, earlier, we're not all picking up pitchforks and going back on Pennsylvania Avenue and demanding that we have better exploration for our natural resources. I'm just surprised the American people has taken it this long.
Well, yeah, I think part of the problem, Zeb, and one of the reasons it's good that you're out there and so many other folks in talk radio and some small segment of the media at least is getting the word out. But I also think it's happening in churches. I think it's happening in get-togethers and family reunions. People are saying, gee, can you believe this? It's getting through. It's not getting through as much because the media, frankly, doesn't cover it. But when you've got a situation where, you know, let's put it this way. Natural gas production in the United States, the thing that has allowed us to put a lot of people to work and drive down the price of natural gas, is going up 33%, where the president doesn't have any say over it at all. Where he's had complete say over it, Zeb, it's down 28%. Oil production in the United States is up 66% in 5 years. In the areas where the president doesn't have anything to say about it, where the president has everything to say about it, it's down 6%. So after a while, it's pretty, you know, it's not by mistake. There's something going on here, and there's clearly a difference between what he says when he's trying to get on everybody's good side about how, gee, isn't it great what we're doing, producing more energy in the United States, and what has actually happened as a result of he and his agents on those lands that belong to all of us, and that energy that belongs to all of us, and so I you know, in essence, I think people are. There's just a lot of things that bother people about the direction of government in general, which seems to be more for them, and less for us, our families, our way of life, our cultures, our communities, and I do think that is sinking in around the country.
Dan, when you look at the situation like what's going on over in Iraq, and I'll call it a sham and a scam, those are the two words that I'll use when it regards to oil production and our prices at the pump. But have we as Americans, have we seen our best days energy-wise, or do you think that there is something brighter on the horizon that is going to turn around and make America have a sense of progression to where we can look at these as bad days, but now there's a brighter day on the horizon looming? What do you think is going to happen, your own personal opinion, over, let's say, the next decade?
Well, it's a great question, Zeb. Let me try to answer your question by not answering your question. I think what's going to, I think it's all up to the government in essence. If they get away with their proposals and this continues, and then it's darker days are ahead. But there is no reason for that. Americans have this can-do spirit that has made us the number one country in the world. I mean, we have these God-given resources in abundance that other countries would only dream of. And we have the technology, the know-how, the expertise, the professionalism to be able to get it done. And the only thing standing between our ability to do that and become the beneficiaries of all of those blessings is the government. Mm-hmm. And the real question is whether people are going to take control of and demand that their government responds in a way that makes it easier on them and their families and their communities and all the rest. And that's the only impediment. The biggest threat we have to our own national energy security, economic security, and I would argue national security, is our own government.
Absolutely. Dan, you're always a blessing to be on the program. I thank you so much. With the Institute of Energy Research, my buddy Dan Kish. You got to come to Idaho. I told you that state's still waiting for you.
Well, you know, we got this global warming back here so hot I'd like to get out of here.
Okay.
It's called summer in Washington.
Oh, the humidity, you're a much tougher man than I am. Dan Kish, God bless you. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care. Thank you. There's the man that understands what's going on in energy and what the government is doing to put their thumb, literally, on progress and put their thumb down on anything that's going to make this country bigger and better and stronger. And when you hear idiotic reports, and they are, from the New York Times' Thomas Friedman, warning that we must not replace our addiction to coal with an addiction to natural gas, why not? We're going to need energy. We're going to need electricity. And we're going to need power in general. For agriculture, for business, for industry, for private homes, for business factories, everything. And we're not going to get it from Obama's green solar panels and wind turbines. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to back up just a moment. I know he's still listening. And I want to say thank you to a dear friend, and that's Gary Shoresman. Gary Shoresman is a blessing for the area, and he does such a wonderful job, and he's been a blessing to this program. He knew that we had trouble getting a guest on from Brazil, and there he was, bang, calling in about the book and also what's going on over in Rupert for the 4th of July celebration, and I really appreciate that. I really do, and I want to say thank you to him. Then I also want to say thank you to Anthony Ling down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, for listening. He was listening on the computer to ZebBell.com. He knew we were having trouble getting through, and then he called in on the toll-free Watts line. So I really appreciate people with an effort like that, and I want to say thank you. Don't forget our weather right now with MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. And they're having an inventory clearance on most of their firearms. That's right. Many of them are selling below cost. You had better get in there today. The best in ammo, the best in guns, the best in accessories, the best in knowledgeable people at Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. And they bring you now Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Another yucky day in the Magic Valley as far as the weather is concerned. Slight chance of showers are still going to continue it through much of Wednesday. Also, taper off on Wednesday night going into Thursday, and then you're looking for a pretty good week. Cooler temperatures. All of this is a result of a cold front that's pushing through. Now, if that really bothers you, be advised that there are some folks who are going to do some far worse weather than what you are. By the way, if you're heading up Interstate 15 up toward Montana, they're looking for rain and snow for much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you got it pretty good. Other than that, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Thank you, Michael, and it's brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. The best of guns, ammo, and accessories at Red's Trading Post in Twin Falls, 733-3546. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to have you on the program. I want to remind you that Dave Zanino is going to have his Wednesday night Summers of Open series at the Jerome County Fairgrounds tomorrow night, Wednesday night. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7, 3 for $20 draw pot. And for more information, don't forget, call Dave at 431-1263 at the Jerome County Fairgrounds, and that will be tomorrow evening. I've got a couple of other public service announcements I need to get on right after I tell you about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean was on our program yesterday, and I certainly appreciate it. We're going to try to get him scheduled for, I'm going to try for tomorrow if his schedule allows, if not next week, so we can talk more about that Republican convention. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance with life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They will serve you. Please get a hold of Dean and Todd today, dedicated and very responsive to your needs, always serving others, and the number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really good folks. Yesterday, while we were over at Snyder Surplus, the old mountain man, known as Powder Trickler, Rick Ramsey, his real name, came by and visited with us because the Oregon Trail muzzleloaders are going to have their 33rd annual rendezvous. That's going to be coming up this weekend, June 20th, 21st, and 22nd, up at, I want to make sure I say it right. I got to check out my property here. I think they're going to be up at Chatburn Ranch, yes. And look for the signs up at Albion. And this is going to be this weekend, the Oregon Trail Muzzleloaders 33rd Annual Rendezvous, and they're inviting you to come on up at Chatburn Ranch and look for the signs. You'll get right to it, and you will see things the way they took place over 150 years ago. As a matter of fact, Rick was there 150 years ago. George Montgomery was there 150 years ago, shooting the cannon. Oh, Lord, please don't give him a cannon. All of this at the Oregon Trail Muzzleloaders coming up this weekend for their annual rendezvous, okay? And then the weekend after that, here's something that Gina, have you ever been to a Scottish Games Iron Kilt Festival?
No, I am not.
Are you going?
Is it the weekend of the 28th?
Yeah.
No, I am not.
Well, you really should, because get James. Now, for some reason, I was thinking James would be really good at this. A great big guy like James, he can go out and get in all those Scottish games, and what do they got? They got the battle axe throw, and they got the caper toss, and all that kind of stuff. The only thing he has to do is wear a kilt.
I don't know. He might do that. I don't know if he would or not.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's the first annual Iron Kilt Festival, and it's going to be right there at South Freedom Park by the Idaho Army National Guard Armory, and it's free spectator admission, and they're going to have all these kind of games, and they got athletes coming in on Saturday, June 28th for all these different games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward. I'm going to try to stop over there.
I think you should. I've seen videos of them, and I know that they do have a similar event in Twin that I've seen video of, but I've never, ever gone to one. I've always wanted to go, but unfortunately, that particular weekend is regatta weekend and busy here at the radio station.
Well, and you know, the wearing of a kilt, now that bothers me just more than a little bit. I have been told that some of these guys that wear these Scottish kilts, they haven't invested a lot of money in jockey shorts.
Well, some of them like the breeze, and others, well, they wear the tighty-whities.
They like to what?
They like the breeze.
Oh, breathe like fresh air.
Yes.
I see.
Yes.
Well, it's the going in circles at a rapid rate with that hammer throw and your kilt blowing out into the wind. I guess they do like to breathe.
Well, it's not like the kilts are like mini skirts. They are knee length.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not mini skirts by any means.
But you know, really, when you think about it, James is a big guy. I'm a big guy. I don't think I could wear a kilt in public. I mean, maybe behind locked doors in a padded cell, but not out in public.
Scotty has.
Our Scotty Cameron?
Yes.
He wore a kilt?
Oh, yeah. He wears a kilt all the time.
Scott weighs 400 pounds.
That doesn't stop him from wearing a kilt.
It should.
Probably so. He's got a phone call.
Don't tell him I said that, please. He's a friend of mine.
So tell him
Okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Oh, no. I knew we were going to raise the natives. Yes, go ahead. Criticize me.
I'm not going to criticize you.
Okay.
Just got a funny story for you.
All right, real quick. I only got a minute left.
Years ago at the Salt Lake game, we had about 600 people lining the field for the caber toss. And this one guy, he stands about 6'4", probably upper 40s, low 50s, going through the caber toss, runs up there. He goes up in the air with both hands, and the kilt goes down, and he had these nice, pretty little purple, on.
That's more info. That's TMI. That's too much information right there in the caber toss.
Well, the only thing on the news that night was this guy throwing the cable.
I'll bet it was. Listen, Kilt Man, we'll keep plugging it. It's going to be on the 28th of June. Going to be a lot of fun, the Iron Kilt Festival. Thanks so much for calling in. I got to do a commercial. I'll talk to you later.
All
right, buddy. Thank you. Good guy right there, old Kilt Man. I appreciate it. Hey, don't forget, for the best in recliners, the best in sofas, the best in all your furniture, guess where you go? Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. Oh, my goodness, they got all the living room sets. They've got all the different recliners, the rocker recliners, the wall saver power recliners, the power rocker recliners, the dual reclining sofas, everything. You're going to be so comfy, and your home is going to look oh so good. Stop in today and visit with our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. All the mattresses, all the carpet, everything for the comfort and beautification of your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More. Love those people. Great business. Thank you very much. Right now, we're going to take a little break. And we're going to send it back over to our main studios. I'm losing my voice this morning. Have no idea why. And we're going to come back at 10:06 with Dr. History, and we're looking forward to hearing his story. And then at 10:30 this morning, Michelle Saylor Tucker is going to be talking about Donald Sterling and selling the Los Angeles Clippers. So that should be interesting. I'll be back in 6. Oh, my. Welcome back. Hour number 3 is up at the ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. And by golly, service is the name of the game, along with some of our great advertisers that include, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. Call 734-6969. Don't forget our friends over at the Chadwick Sports Grill. What have they got for a special on the menu today at 139 West Main in Burley? How about this? Oh, boy, it sounds good. Breaded pork steaks with choice of potato, vegetables, and super salad for just $9.95. Oh, my goodness. Knock your socks off. Absolutely fantabulous. Looking forward to that. Oh, my. At the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. Hey, don't forget, whoops, wait a minute. I just unplugged my headsets. I reached over with my wrong arm and cut it off. There we go. We got it back in my ear again. A lot of good things going on at Snyder Surplus. You better believe it, just south of the Rupert Elks. Look for all the signs. I'm telling you, they've got office chairs. Yesterday, for their specials, they had over 700 office chairs over there, ranging in price from $5 to $15. What are you waiting for? And they had office desks. They were beautiful, like oak desks. Oh, my goodness sakes, they were just $30, and they've got nightstands, and I'll tell you what, it's fantastic. Not just a military surplus, they've got everything, and it is such a nice store, such nice people at Snyder Surplus for their grand opening just south of the Rupert Elks. Look for the signs, you can't miss it. Super folks at Snyder Surplus. Well, now let's talk real slow. Let's talk real low. Let's not make too much noise in case he's sleeping, because he is old, you know, and he is retiring. He's so ancient and such an antique. Good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing today?
How come you get to retire?
Well, 38 years of practicing, and you know, I've got a nephew that's going to take over for me here at the same office, and he's going to do things the same way that I've done them for years. And a lot of my patients are not just patients; they're also friends. And so I wouldn't just turn this over to anybody.
Well, I can.
He's a good young man, and he will treat people right and take care of them. Hopefully, I know he will. He'll take care of my patients. 'Cause, like I say, a lot of them have been become dear friends.
Well, I just want to say up front, Dr. Ken Turner, you are a very nice person. And it's been a blessing to my wife and myself and my family for us to get to know you. You've done a lot to help me, and I just want to wish you, of course, I'm not going to just let you go. You're going to stay here, hopefully, on the radio and also with Dr-History.com. You're just one of a kind, and we appreciate you.
Well, thanks, Zeb. I want to keep doing the show, and there'll be times when I won't be able to do the show, but I'm going to plan on being here as often as I can.
Well, with that being said, we want to emphasize the fact, and I'll let you do the advertisement because you do it so well. Dr-History.com. People can listen anywhere in the world.
Yes, they can be. In fact, we do have some listeners all over the world, which has kind of surprised me, from Japan to South America to Europe, and mostly, of course, in the United States here. But they can listen on their smartphone while they're driving down the road. They just have to go to our web page, Dr-History.com, and they can pick from the last. There's probably 15 or 16 shows on there now. So, and every week we'll add a new one.
All right. Well, today, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, as you think about the Old West, there were groups of men that were involved in law enforcement. Now, as you think about groups of men, is there any particular group that comes to your mind?
Well, yeah, the Pinkertons.
Okay, another one?
How about... along with the Pinkertons, well, Vigilante Justice comes to mind.
Okay, you're still missing my main guys.
Okay, not the Pinkertons, and it's not Vigilante Justice. It must be, and it's a law enforcement agency, right?
Way down south. How about, I'll give you a hint, how about Texas?
Oh, the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, Texas Rangers.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to give you a little history about these guys, and Hollywood and, of course, movies have always romanticized a lot of the people of the Old West that weren't always worthy of praise or romanticizing. And so I'm going to kind of talk about the good, the bad, and maybe some of the ugly of the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
So, anyway, the Texas Rangers were organized originally to fight Indians and Mexicans. And it was only after Texas had grown in population did the Rangers turn their attention to the outlaws. Now, the name Ranger in the early days referred to an individual who ranged across a large expanse of territory, traveling light, ready to fight at a minute's notice. Officially, they thought of themselves not only as Rangers, but actually kind of a militia, or if you want to call them mounted volunteers, even spies and mounted gunmen. I mean, that kind of describes what these guys were. Well, in 1823, Stephen Austin first formed bands of these Rangers to protect settlers. But it was not until 1835 that the Texas General Council gave recognition, assigning them the official task of defending the frontier against the Indians. Well, one company of 25 men patrolled east of the Trinity River. Another group patrolled between the Trinity and what they call the Brazos River. And a third group between the Brazos and on into Colorado a little ways. Well, when Sam Houston became the first president of the Republic of Texas, he made friends with the Indians. He liked the Indians, so he reduced the Texas Army to hardly anything. So really the Texas Army was not effective as a fighting unit. Now, Houston, like I say, he loved Indians. And to keep at bay those Indians who were what you'd call unreasonable, he signed into law in 1842 an act authorizing a company of mounted men to act as rangers on the southern frontier. Now, a year later, he approved legislation for 2 more companies, and he refers to them as spies on the southwestern region. Well, now, here's what the description of these guys were. He said the human material for the Rangers and the spies were largely adventurers and referred to as rabble. So at times they brought credit upon the Texas Republic, and at times they kind of disgraced it. But in general, most of them were brave men, and for a while they cleared Texas of the Cherokees and the Comanches, and as commonly happens, they were involved in some stupid blunders, kind of some shameful episodes that they weren't too proud of. But, in their defense, keep in mind in that era, there was a lot of mistakes made when it came to, and tragedies when it came to, I guess, upholding the law, if you want to call it that. Well, when the long simmering Mexican War broke out, the American armies for the first time fought guerrillas, and the Mexican irregulars were a nuisance, but not a big threat. But in order to disperse them, there was a guy by the name of General Taylor, and he called for several mounted Texas regiments, or in other words, Texas Rangers. Well, Taylor used them as anti-guerrilla forces and scouts, and during this period, the Rangers started their reluctance to take prisoners. Now, this was not a good thing. The Mexicans who did not account for their presence were usually shot on the spot. A lot of innocent people died, but the number of Mexican guerrilla operations diminished, too. I mean, so there was some good, but nevertheless, this random killing of civilians kind of appalled this General Taylor, and he referred to the Rangers as a lawless bunch who have scarcely made one expedition without unwarranted killing a Mexican. So, again, kind of a bad spot for the Rangers right in there. But anyway, as the American armies drove deeper into Mexico, the reputation of the Texas Rangers became known way out of proportion. In fact, when they'd go into a little town, there'd be big crowds of people would throng the streets, anxious to see what they referred to them as the Texas Devils. They wanted to see what these guys looked like, because they kind of had a bad reputation. Now, in Mexico City, the Rangers, they'd scattered around town, drinking and sightseeing, and every day a few wound up dead. The murderers ducked into dark streets and buildings, and a few of the Rangers decided to put a stop to the killings. And as they walked down the street, if someone threw a rock or simply brushed against them, the Rangers pulled out the pistols and executed the so-called guilty person on the spot. And in one day alone, 80 bodies were left sprawling on the streets.
Oh, my.
So, again, kind of a black mark on the Texas Rangers right in there. And, well, it was not long after this that they returned to Texas. Well, the Texas Rangers went out of business for the next decade. And after Texas entered the Union, the United States Army took over the job of protecting the frontier. Now, the governor did call out the Rangers for service against some Indian uprisings in 1855, 56, 57, right in there. But they neglected to tell them that in the process that the state treasury was empty. So the Rangers would have to furnish their own equipment, their own guns, everything, and wait for pay from the legislature.
Oh, boy.
So basically, these guys weren't getting paid anything for doing what they were asked to do. Well, about this time, the Comanches were running rampant. They were destroying outlying ranches and farms, and in desperation, the Texas legislature voted money, and they commissioned a guy by the name of John S. Ford as Supreme Commander of the Texas Forces. Now, this Ford guy, he broke his command into 4 detachments, and he crossed the Red River into Indian Territory in Oklahoma, and where on May 12th he struck the Comanche camp in full fury. In bitter fighting that raged from early morning through the late afternoon, there was a Comanche chief by the name of Old Iron Shirt. And his name, he got his reputation because he actually wore a coat of mail. They wore it because he believed that he and his followers were invincible. Well, they weren't. Well, Ford's 200-plus Texas Rangers engaged over 300 warriors, and they killed 76 and captured 300 horses and 18 women and children. And anyway, the Rangers had only 4 casualties, and only 2 of those were wounded. So this campaign, plus engagements by the U.S. Army, effectively broke the back of the Indians' power in Texas. So in that respect, I guess you could say the Texas Rangers kind of helped settle that part of the United States. So now we get into General Sam Houston. Okay, he got the idea that he would organize an army of Texas Rangers, and he wanted to invade Mexico, bite off a chunk, annex it to Texas, and figured that a grateful Union nation would elect him president of the United States. And some historians believe that he thought he would actually avert the coming Civil War by doing what he did. And I don't know, maybe he could have, but, crazier things have happened. So, but the war he tried to prevent actually came before he could actually get started, and during that conflict, the Rangers dropped practically from sight. They were pretty much non-existent. Well, after the Civil War, the governor replaced the Rangers with a group of men that they didn't like. It was called the Texas State Police.
Uh-oh.
And in fairness, the state police were never as bad as they were painted, but they were painted to be a pretty bad bunch of lawmen, this Texas State Police. Well, the citizens elected a Democratic legislature, and it appealed the state police law. And when the governor vetoed the bill, it was passed over. They passed over his veto. So now the Rangers were back in. So now we got the Texas Rangers back in full force. Now, you can't study the Texas Ranger history without being astonished at the number of killings by these men. Now, an accurate count of the dead is impossible. We just don't know. But the figures, counting Indians, Mexicans, and Anglos, would run probably into the hundreds. And there's the story behind every one of them. I'm sure they justified what they did. And some have been told, and some will be told, but a lot of these stories will just simply be forgotten as to, the real details. So, anyway, the Rangers never had a uniform, and nor did they wear a badge. And generally, they furnished their own weapon, their own horse. They were an arm of the Texas government, and they were also abused by that same power. For instance, Ranger companies were usually recruited locally and paid $30 a month and board. Well, that wasn't much. And when they were killed, and a lot of them were, the state basically shoveled them into the ground as cheaply as possible. And when the troubles which they'd been hired to stop were finally settled, they were just kind of basically said, go home, you're done. And told if they wanted to re-enlist at another trouble spot, they could pay their own way to transportation to get to where they needed to be. So they weren't really a very appreciated bunch of guys.
I can see that.
Yeah, and, well, finally in 1874, the Texas legislature created two distinct Ranger forces, mainly for the protection against Indians and Mexicans. Well, there's a Captain McNeely, and he commanded a force to suppress troubles along the Mexican border. Now, this McNeely went to stop the killing and the thieving that was going on, and Mexican rustlers had been slipping across the Rio Grande and stealing livestock. And anyway, as rustlers were caught crossing the river, he would slip a rope. They would just slip a rope around their neck and toss it over a tree limb and haul them up and down a few times in order to make them talk. Well, when they did, which they always did, you can imagine if you got a rope around your neck and you're being pulled up and down off the ground. After all possible information had been extracted, the poor guy was lynched anyway. So basically he told on his buddies and still got killed. But anyway, in order to completely stop the rustling, the Rangers struck at its source. They crossed the Rio Grande to a ranch house headquarters, charged and killed several Mexicans during this fight. Unfortunately, they struck and killed innocent people in the wrong place.
Uh-oh.
So they galloped south to the correct location and clashed with the Mexican army, which chased McNeely's men back to the other side of the river.
Holy cow, they could have used a GPS.
Not a good thing to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, Well, McNeely, he actually died, and so a guy by the name of Armstrong took over his duties. Now, Armstrong, he kind of ran over criminals, and he actually was a guy that wanted to catch John Wesley Hardin.
Oh, I remember him.
Yeah, and, one of the West's best-known fugitives.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, after a considerable amount of detective work, he did track down Hardin to Alabama, killed one of his followers, and he took Wesley Hardin prisoner, and of course, Hardin went to jail for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could say that was a good thing, sort of, But gradually the Rangers moved into West Texas, and in 1881 they ambushed a war party of Indians, and this basically was the last Indian fight in Texas. And with this particular fight, basically was the end of an era. There were no more frontiers, basically. The Rangers were becoming more and more of a kind of a police force. They'd move from one trouble spot to another. They would hunt cattle thieves, bank robbers, fence cutters, really bad people that would cut fences. In 1900, basically, the battalion faded out of existence for a long time. Well, in 1935, the Rangers reorganized as a part of the Department of Public Safety.
Mm-hmm.
And they were charged with the protection of life and property and the investigation of major crimes and insurrections, things like that. Well, nowadays they actually do have an official uniform, and, you know, you've probably seen them. You know, they wear a white dress shirt, black tie.
Yep.
They have a silver gray Stetson that they wear, tan western cut trousers, black gun holster, black cowboy boots, and a .357 revolver. And at this stage in history, they are basically the elite of Texas investigative forces.
I agree.
And it's a group of 82 men known and respected around the world.
Mm-hmm.
They've come from, like I say, kind of a troubled and dark past, and yet they did some good things to where they are now, like I say, the elite in law enforcement, and again, known throughout the world.
Absolutely. And I really do know, I know 3 Texas Rangers personally down in Texas, and they are the epitome of professional.
Yeah, to me, you know, everything I've known about them in our lifetime has been nothing but good and, you know, honest men that, you know, are trying to do the very best they can.
Hey, I was going to mention something to you this morning, and I've only got a couple of minutes left, and I wanted to throw this at you. Are you familiar with that Hollywood movie called My Darling Clementine that was a black and white movie that was shot, I think it was in the 40s, with Henry Fonda and Walter Brennan and Forrest Tucker? Are you familiar with that old Western?
You know, the name sounds familiar, but I can't really remember much about it.
Well, it was all about Wyatt Earp, and it was all about the final battle at the OK Corral. And I had a chance to catch that movie last night. It was on television, and it was appalling to me that Hollywood, even back then, took such liberties with history, and they were dead wrong on everything they portrayed there.
You know, it is sad that, again, the romanticizing and the Hollywoodizing of true stories to make them more, make them more appealing, which they don't make it appealing to me, because when I go to a movie, I want to see the actual historical events as they were.
Yeah. Well, in the movie last night with Henry Fonda, and he played Wyatt Earp, at the end of the movie, after the gunfight at the OK Corral, they had Doc Holliday dying in the gunfight at the OK Corral. That was the furthest thing from the truth. He died in a sanatorium in Colorado.
Right. Yeah. Before we go, I want to just say something real quick. Last week, I was up by the Henry's Lake area, which is where Jim Bridger and those guys were when they got shot.
Yeah, the Naked Mountain Men.
Ennis, Montana, to 2 little ghost towns called Virginia City and Nevada City.
Oh, yes.
So I'm just putting this out to everybody. If you get over that direction to Ennis, go over, it's only 15 miles, over to Virginia City is the first town you come to, but go another mile and you'll get to Nevada City, where they have a ghost town area where you pay a few dollars, but you go in and you walk around all these buildings, school, a little Chinatown, all these things that they've moved in, but basically and you can do panning for gold right there. You can ride the train between Nevada City and Virginia City. And the highlight of the trip was they have a 2-story outhouse. So you want to be sure to see that. You're not saying anything.
I'm debating whether I want to add a comment to that or not.
Well, there's a hotel there. There's a hotel there that you can actually stay in Nevada City.
I see.
And just kind of relive the old past.
The guy that drew the bottom is not necessarily going to be the winner.
You wouldn't call him lucky.
No, I wouldn't.
Anyway, if anybody gets over that direction, it's well worth making the drive over to Virginia and Nevada cities and just kind of see what those old mining towns were like.
All right. Well, listen, I'll be talking to you again next week, and I just want to wish you the very best. But for all the audience out there, don't forget dr-history.com, and you can just plug right in and listen to these programs on Zeb at the Ranch. dr-history.com with our dear friend Dr. History, better known as Dr. Ken Turner. Thank you so much.
All right, Zeb, you have a good day.
God bless you, man. Thanks.
Bye.
I love that program. program and that segment. Thank you. Hey, don't forget, we've got 2 sponsors for our Thursday Cassia County School Days, and we really do appreciate all their efforts, and they include A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they've got everything for the entire family. All the babies, they got all the cribs, and they've got all the strollers and the walkers and the blankets and the clothes and the toys, baby books, everything for the newborn right there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and gift wrapping is always free. And also, we say thank you to the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley for all the outpatient medical care right in the Burley area. And don't forget, over 100 procedures are performed a month right there at the Ambulatory Surgery Center. You call today, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World are the 2 sponsors of Cassia County School Days right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Real quick also, I want to remind you about a great place to go eat, and that's the Drift Inn. Oh, I love the Drift Inn, 545 F Street in Rupert. And this weekend the weather's going to be really nice and warm. It's going to get up into the 90s, and besides great food, they got great music right there on the patio. And don't forget Thursday night's barbecue night featuring ribs and pulled pork, salmon. It is delicious. The Drift Inn on the Square in Rupert, a great place to relax, enjoy. Drift Inn, 545 F Street in Rupert. We're going to take a little break, be gone for about 3 minutes. We'll be right back.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch, thank you very much. And we're going to have our guest on the air with us momentarily. Don't forget Anthon Darrington Law Offices serving you, of course, located at 601 7th Street in Rupert. These are a couple of good old Declo boys that grew up on farms in the area, and they practice law in all the areas of wills and trusts, estates, ag law, water law, farm leases, purchases, everything. Please, for your legal questions, you contact Brett Anthon and Matt Darrington today at Anthon Darrington PLLC, 601 7th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 260-5280. Well, let's go to the phone lines right now. And I've had this lovely lady on our program in the past, and she is the leading authority on buying and selling businesses with her book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. Good morning, Michelle Saylor Tucker. How are you? Are you there, Michelle?
I'm here.
Oh, there you go. I just gave you the introduction, and it's nice to have you back on the program. And I'll start things off by saying I read the little story about your thoughts regarding Donald Sterling and the Los Angeles Clippers, and I don't think you like him very well, do you?
Well, I don't think it's a matter of like or dislike. It's not that I don't like him as a person. I obviously don't even know him, but I certainly don't like what he's doing. And I don't think he should be able to benefit from it.
Let me ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to play devil's advocate with you a little bit. I agree with you, but there's a caveat there. Donald Sterling, let me pose this question to you. What did he really do wrong other than have a private conversation in the privacy of his home, and all of a sudden his business is completely disrupted and he's forced and coerced into selling an NBA basketball team because of a private, closed conversation? Do you think that's right or wrong?
I think that's wrong. It was a private conversation in his home and recorded by his mistress. I think that's absolutely wrong. I think she's wrong, and she's not really suffering much consequence from it. I do think he is benefiting from. I do think selling the team for $2 billion to me is quite the benefit, don't you think?
Well, this is where I want to get into this, because I have a real question as to whether the Los Angeles Clippers, which have been a doormat basketball team in the NBA for years, and in the last couple of years they developed some strategy and got some good trades and got some good personnel, but $2 billion, I fail to find the common sense in that.
I agree. I wish I was the broker on that transaction, but It is absolutely crazy to me. I'm shocked by the purchase price, and we'll see if the deal actually closes.
What does it say, Michelle, about sports in general in America and sports teams and their high ticket powers to draw the people and fill the stands when you can close out a deal possibly for $2 billion? What does that tell you?
It tells me that money is being spent in the wrong places.
Okay.
I'd rather see that type of money going to our school system, our healthcare system, especially our school system, etc. Don't you agree?
Oh, I agree with you 100%, but how do we get back in focus again to the point where when I was growing up, and I'm an old man, You're
not that old.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I can remember the pros that were in pro football and pro basketball and Major League Baseball back when I was a youngster, and they played for the love of the game on Saturdays and Sundays like in the NFL and the NBA, and then during the week they had to go out and supplement their income by having other jobs. Things have really changed, and we're turning these kids into sophomores in colleges, turning pro. We're turning them into micro millionaires, and I think this is wrong. We've got the wrong concept.
I agree with you 100%. They used to play for the love of the game, and now it's all about the money. And, I personally think that they're overpaid.
So what about this deal, though, Michelle? In your book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, boy, the title of your book really slaps the side of the head of Donald Sterling, because this basketball team is not worth $2 billion.
Well, on average, I get my clients 30 to 40% more than what their business will sell for based on paper. And I can tell you that this business is selling for a lot more than 20 to 40% more than what it's worth on paper. Obviously, we're not privy to all the numbers, but nobody thinks that this team is worth $2 billion. Nobody.
Let me ask you another part of the equation here, and that's his wife. Now, I don't know, and I'm going to bare my chest on this because I'm not sure about the community property laws down in California versus I know community property laws up here in Idaho. But now, I feel sorry for her to the extent that if she doesn't want to sell, wanted to keep her ownership of her percentage of the team, it looks like that's not going to happen. What do you know about that aspect?
Zeb, I'm not sure if we're having a bad connection, but you're cutting out. I mean, my software is showing that we're good here, but you're cutting out. As far as in California, I don't believe they have a separate property agreement, so I would think she's entitled to it. Is that what your question was?
Well, yeah, I asked you, my feelings are for her to quite an extent because she is, I think, 50% owner of the team, and now she's also being coerced to let go of her half of it, and she did nothing wrong.
She did nothing wrong, but it's also my understanding that she's the one who is instigating the sale of this and putting this deal together. So it's my knowledge that she's on the same page and wanting to move forward.
What are we going to do, though, with these inflated prices? And you work with these people every day. You know about people that want to sell their businesses. You know that people want to sell for more than it's worth. I mean, what does it say about America, our economy, and our future when we're seeing exorbitant prices like $2 billion with a B dollars for a basketball team?
Well, I personally do not work with clients who have an unrealistic expectation and an inflated price of their business. What I do is I evaluate their businesses and I work through all the financial records. Most businesses run so many personal expenses through their business that at the end of the day, they don't even know what they're making. And on paper, many businesses are showing a loss or a very small profit. Based on paper, a lot of businesses are not worth much at all other than the assets. I work with my clients to clean up their financial records, clean up their financial house in order to sell the business for 20 to 40% more. So I personally don't think buyers should be overpaying for businesses. Buyers are not overpaying for the businesses that I sell. What I do in my book, Sell Your Business for More It's Worth, is teach my clients how to sell your business at the right time and how to prepare your business and plan your exit strategy.
Michelle, how do you find clients to work with? I mean, do you call people that you know are selling a business? Do they call you? I mean, how have you got your name out there that you can help these people sell their business for more than it's worth?
Well, that's a very good question, Zeb, because I've been in this industry for many years. I've sold hundreds and hundreds of businesses and franchises, and unfortunately, in my industry, selling the business is extremely confidential, so we can't go out there and brag about it. So what I've done is number one, I get a lot of businesses from referrals, testimonials. I wrote the book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, and we've sold thousands and thousands of copies, and that's generated the buzz and has educated sellers that there's a better way to try to sell your business, to find your exit strategy. So the book has helped. I've been featured in Forbes. I've been featured in Inc. magazine. I've been featured in all the major TV stations and different radio shows like yours, etc. So basically that's what's helping spread the word. But the majority of our business does come from referrals and writing the book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth.
Michelle, when you look at somebody's business and they've asked you to help them and figure out what they can do better, do you find that most of it is a bookkeeping problem? Most of it is maybe that they haven't paid much attention to the dotting the I's and crossing the T's? What's the major problem you see with most businesses?
Again, you keep cutting out, but I think what you're asking me is what's the biggest issue with most businesses?
Right.
And I would tell you that I just met with a client in Texas who's got a tremendous business in a great niche industry. They have a specific niche in which they cater to with very little to no competition. The problem with that particular owner is they're stuck in their business. They're working in their business and not on their business. And I would say the biggest issue is that most business owners work in their business and not on their business to grow the business. And most business owners are stuck in that box of their business. They're not thinking outside of that box. And, I always say to my clients, when you're in your fog, it's foggy. So what I do is I come and I assess where they are, what's working well, what's not working, etc. And I help my clients fix basically the four things in their business. Number one, they have to have a vision. Number two, they have to have a good product. Number three, they have to have a great process. And most importantly, they have to have good people.
Michelle, I hope you can hear me on this question, but do you find that the business climate and atmosphere in this country of businesses is on the decline with this administration, and because they seem to have an anti-free enterprise attitude? What are your thoughts about this administration?
Obviously, the statistics are out there that it is on the decline. I would tell you, in my own business, in my own industry, I'm not fighting that at all. I have more and more sellers that have great businesses. Not all. I mean, there's a lot of sellers out there with businesses that are not doing well and barely breaking even. But many the clients that come to us have thriving businesses. The businesses are doing well, and we have buyers more than we had since this recession began in 2009 or 2008. And we have a tremendous amount of buyers with disposable income wanting to purchase businesses. We have a lot of people wanting to leave corporate America, CEOs, CFOs, COOs. They don't want to be stuck in corporate America anymore. They they want to become an entrepreneur and run their own business. So, and we have pools and pools and pools of investors of people who are working for corporate America, but they don't want to put all the money in the stock market. They want to diversify in income-producing properties. So we have an influx of sellers and an influx of buyers. I also just left a conference with over 50 PEGs, private equity groups, wanting to buy businesses, cash flowing $3 million in EBITDA and above. So my industry right now, for me, my business is doing great. There are a lot of people out there suffering. There are a lot of employees not making ends meet. There are a lot of business owners losing everything as well. And I attempt to try to help as many of these individuals as I possibly can to try to group those businesses together and bring investors in to help them.
Last question, Michelle. If you had the opportunity to be president for one day and wave a magic wand and make everything better, what would you do for the small business owners in America? What's the number one thing you think would make their business better and grow more?
Well, the number two things I would do. I'm going to give you two things. I would get rid of Obamacare.
Okay.
And I would reduce taxes.
And Obamacare, the negative, and reduce taxes. Why can't they see this back in Washington, D.C. to help stimulate the economy? Why can't they see it?
Because they're not entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. They've never done anything but be community organizers, and I really respect that answer. How's the book doing? Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. Doing well?
Thank you for asking. The book is doing great. We've sold thousands of copies, and the book did go number one on Amazon. And, I get calls from clients every day saying, hey, I read your book. I would love to work with you. Same thing with the client in Texas. We don't just sell businesses, that we also partner with businesses. I give my clients two choices. We can sell and go now, or we can hold, grow, then sell and go. So I help clients take a $1 million business and grow it to a $10 million, $15, $20 million business. And that's what we're doing with the client in Texas that I just met with last week. Right now they've really got about a $600,000 business. We're going to grow it into a $10 million business in 5 years.
Wow. Well, I wish you all the success in the world. It's always inspiring to talk to you. The author of Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, Michelle Saylor Tucker. Thank you. God bless you. And I hope next time we have an easier connection to listen to. Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. Take care. God bless. Thank you. There's a lady that has been there and done that and written a book called, like I said, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. And you can hear the clientele that she's working with. And she's bullish on America if we could really get rid of Obamacare and reduce taxes. And that would help stimulate the business economy. Thank you very much. Michelle Saylor Tucker. Hey, we've got to have a weather forecast right now. And the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness. Locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years. And the very, very best. I tell you, they absolutely guarantee everything they sell. You ought to try that marinated tri-tip for any occasion. Oh, it is delicious. And they are selling taste one bite at a time. So, Scarrows Meats brings you now Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Another yucky day in the Magic Valley as far as the weather is concerned. A slight chance of showers is still going to continue it through much of Wednesday. Also, taper off on Wednesday night going into Thursday, and then you're looking for a pretty good week. Cooler temperatures, all of this is a result a cold front that's pushing through. Now, if that really bothers you, be advised that there's some folks who are going to do some far worse weather than what you are. By the way, if you're heading up Interstate 15 up toward Montana, they're looking for rain and snow for much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you got it pretty good. Other than that, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, selling taste one bite at a time. 324-7657. Oh, we got a little time. Give me a call, and we'll visit with you. 436-2244. I'd like to hear from you. 1-866-927-4587. And we'll talk about anything you have to visit about for the next couple of minutes. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
They hung up.
I just got the cow. My goodness, give me a break. Have patience. Please call me back at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to ask Gina first, are they there or did they cut and run on me again?
No, they together.
Okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you today?
I am fantastic. What can I do for you, sir?
Well, I appreciated that last segment you had, and there's an issue that I think the citizens in, especially Twin Falls County, need to be aware of, and that is our property taxes, Zeb, have just increased by 50%.
Yes.
Without any prior notice, all of a sudden, and so I think the county now is taxing us for more than we're worth, and that really is alarming to me that they would bring someone like Chobani in and give them all the tax breaks in the world, but those of us who are on the farms trying to make it go, we just got blindsided by a 50% increase this year. And that's just somewhat devastating to us without understanding any real justification.
Dave, let me ask you this. You've been a good friend. You've been on this program many, many times. Do you, as a businessman, as a farmer, and also as a taxpayer, do you know everything that was given and provided them to come in? And are we aware of what benefits they have over the rest of us? I'd like to know all that.
I don't. In fact, I've made a couple of inquiries, and they said, well, we could come reappraise it again, but nothing's going to change, so you're stuck with what we've done. And that was just one straw. The other straw was with the wind we had just recently. It's kind of almost tax-related. If your irrigation water, because the wind hits the road, there's no warnings now, you automatically get a citation. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I've paid my property taxes, and they help pay for the pavement, which is actually on my land. I pay taxes out to the middle of the road, and yet I get whammed for facilitating my business and paying property taxes on roads that the public can use, and I get whammed again because the wind comes up and blows the water. So I just had a couple of issues that's just rubbing me a little bit the wrong way, but I think if all the farmers don't understand, this is a pretty significant bite this year. And they're saying, oh, it's because commodities have come up. Well, they've been coming up for the past 6 years. And
That's right.
But
That's right.
Why all of a sudden is everyone get whacked with it this year?
Well, let me ask you this, and I know you well enough that you'll give me a straight answer on this. I think that you are a farmer that's a good neighbor to everyone going by your property. In other words, you're not about to run a pivot or a wheel line to the point where you're going to try to saturate all the vehicles that are going down the highway. But what you're saying is underneath Mother Nature's change, and the wind changes here quite often, that you don't want to be held accountable for that change. And I agree with you, and you're going to be taxed again or fined again for a movement that you had nothing to do with. That's basically the synopsis that you're saying, right?
You're absolutely correct.
And what about, you wanted to equate that to the benefits that were provided to Chobani. I have asked many questions about Chobani coming in here and what they were afforded and over other businesses or what they were given as gratuities. I, too, have a lot of questions left, and I think these are answers to questions that we all should have. But where do you get these answers, and who provides those answers?
Well, if it's just one simple thing, yeah, you needed an infrastructure that handles all the waste, okay?
Yep.
And so that infrastructure was built, and part of it had to be absorbed, that cost absorbed by bringing a business in. And my argument is that's great to bring a business in, but when you bring a business in on the backs of the property taxpayers, it's really a significant contribution.
Amen.
That's the concern that I have is if this tax increase is just to bring some of these business in, then I think it should be shared equitable across the board and not just the property tax owners. The beneficiaries are the ones that should share this burden.
Well, and I'm almost out of time, but I want to say this. When you started your business, i.e. your farm or your fertilizer business, whatever you were doing, I don't think anybody helped fund or subsidize you, and you weren't put on the backs of other taxpayers. And I think that you're saying you just want a fair and equitable situation.
Well, that's absolutely right. And when I talked to the tax commission, the local tax commission, they said, well, all the farms are taxed the same. So if you're a livestock operation and maybe you have to buy feed, they said everything's based on the outcome of feed. Well, I can tell you in Iowa or in other large livestock producing areas, your property tax are based on net farm income, not on just the crop side. And in Idaho, in this area, your income is based solely on the crop side. So if you have a livestock operation, you're paying more than equitable because you're actually having to buy those commodities at a higher rate.
Absolutely.
It's a double whammy.
Dave, I got to run. I'm late, but I want you to call back, and we'll put more on the air about this. God bless you for your thoughts this morning. Thank you very much. Very, very knowledgeable farmer right there, Dave Roper. I appreciate him. Hey, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome.
You want to cut in and finish it up?
Yep, I'm going to finish my commercial. There we go, and we were cut off again.
We've got 60 seconds. Hold on.
Okay, thank you. We are back. I'm going to finish this commercial for our corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. No doggone phone company is going to cut me off. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the very best of tires, the very best of front-end alignment, shocks and struts, and, of course, the best in brake service. But above all, the best in service. All of them. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin. Don't forget Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm Zeb Bell. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06. God bless. The way things were, the way things ought to be.